Newsfirst at 9. Headlines.
Good evening and welcome to News at 9, live from the Newsfirst Centre in Colombo. I'm Florine Rajendran and these are your headlines. Search operation underway to apprehend a man who pushed his 2 children off a bridge into the Nilvala River in Mathura. The children were rescued by soldiers. UNP stages an anti-casino protest in Colombo. Provide a proper interpretation and amend the Strategic Development Act. A request to the President from the Mahanayakas. President emphasizes that there is no attempt to establish casinos. Furnace oil mixes with the waters of the Rakwana River. Number of people inconvenienced. Let's now cross over to the main news desk for these stories and much more.
Well, thank you very much, Florine. A very good evening to you. Welcome to Primetime News. I'm Shahin Jirangpati.
And I'm Mahina Bongzo. We start off with a look at local news. A police investigation is underway to apprehend a man who pushed off his 2 daughters from a bridge in Mathura into the Nilvala River this morning. The heroic actions of soldiers who were in the vicinity had saved the 2 girls. You are about to witness some gripping footage of the rescue. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is the Nilvala River in Mathura. A man who had arrived at this bridge built across the Nilvala River in Mathura along with his 2 daughters had pushed them off the bridge and fled the area. A group of soldiers attached to the 3rd Gamuna Watch Regiment stationed in the area managed to rescue the drowning children. The girls were then rushed to hospital.
The father said to make a call to the police. We did not take it that seriously. He drank his liquor and pushed the children off the bridge. We yelled and later rescued the children.
The 2 girls rescued by the soldiers are currently receiving treatment at the Mathura General Hospital. The police said that the children are between the ages of 2 and 4. According to the information gleaned by the police from the children, the parents had gotten into an argument last evening. Therefore, the police investigated their residence in Sivaligama located in Ratmale Dikvala. The police said that the mother of the 2 girls was arrested. The police say that a complaint was lodged with the Dikvala police over a domestic issue on the 21st of this month. The husband and wife were informed to be present at the police today, and the husband had taken away the 2 children from the house, saying that the children are to be kept at a relative's home.
අපි එක දෙයක් මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ මෙවැනි පුද්ගලයන්ට විරුද්ධව ඊටම තදින් ක්‍රියා කරනවා.
We need to keep one thing in mind. The law will be strictly enforced against such persons. It is sad to note that the children were pushed off by their own parents. The Child and Women's Bureau will act on this matter. If there is anyone who cannot care for their children, please hand over your children to the Police Child and Women's Bureau. According to the law of the country, a person who commits such an act can be imprisoned for up to 20 years.
මේවැනි කරුණක් සම්බන්ධයෙන් අවුරුදු 20ක් දක්වා කාලයක බන්ධනාගාරගත කිරීමකින් දඬුවම් කිරීමට හැකියි.
The United National Party staged a demonstration in Colombo today claiming that the government is attempting to establish casinos in the country via the Strategic Development Bill. A group of protesters including UNP seniors gathered at the Lake House roundabout in Colombo today and commenced a protest march. The demonstrators also protested against a recent situation that was faced by a group of UNP MPs in Hambantota.
Protesters arrived outside a club via Dr. Vijayawardena. The flow of traffic on Dr. Vijayawardena heading out of Colombo was also disrupted as a result of the demonstration.
We are outside a rogue casino. This casino does not have a license. This casino does not have a license. We ask why the government is unable to close down this casino. We can prove here today that the government can use the law in a manner that is beneficial to their henchmen. All we ask is, if there is no casino, then mention that fact in the bill.
අපි කියනවා මේ ආණ්ඩුවට කරුණාකරලා බෝරු පනත ගෙන්න.
We kindly request this government not to present this gambling bill. If you cannot rebuild the economy, if you cannot do this work, then please resign and go home. Now this government is trying to establish casinos in this country. This is a government that said it would put a full stop to intoxication and create virtuous state. Are they trying to do away with this completely?
මේක සම්පූර්ණයෙන් නැති කරන්න හදනවද කියන එකයි.
වර්තමාන රජයට
The present government is unable to provide the midday meal for school children. The present government is unable to make farmers' pension payments appropriately. The present government is unable to grant a fuel subsidy for fishermen. The present government is unable to provide employment for the youth. But this government is able to present bills to establish casinos. The money in the treasury is not intended to provide tax holidays for casino projects. It is meant to uplift the lives of the people. They are not trying to turn our country into a miracle. They are trying to turn it into hell. That is what the present government is doing.
අපේ රට අපායක් කරා ගෙන යන්නටයි මේ වර්තමාන රජය කටයුතු කරන්නේ.
The National Sangha Council requested the UMP today to vote against the Gazette notice under the Strategic Development Act. Representatives of the National Sangha Council made this request at a media briefing with UMP seniors today.
The meeting between representatives of the National Sangha Council and UNP seniors was held at Sirikota today.
The notice that has been presented now mentions 500 ultra-luxury rooms and various other factors, while the rest of it has been replaced with associated facilities. All the vices, including prostitution, casinos and gambling, are disguised within this phrase. Black money is being used here, and in the end, if we look at who determines the political leadership of the country, it will be these people.
The chief prelates of the three sects have informed the President to take measures to provide proper interpretation and amend the Strategic Development Act. The chief prelates, in a letter addressed to the President, highlights that the Act needs to be amended to ensure there will be no provision for activities that violate morals.
The letter addressed to the President carried the signatures of the chief prelates of the Malwatu and Askeri chapters of the Siam sect and the signatures of the chief prelates of the Ramanya sect and the Amarapura sect. The letter notes that there has been no clear interpretation of the term associated facilities, which is mentioned in the Gazette notice of the 30th of January. The chief prelates believe that the inclusion of the term associated facilities will be an enabling factor for vices including gambling, betting, alcohol and prostitution. The chief prelates point out that there have been numerous occasions in the past where loopholes have arisen in the law owing to the poor wording of acts. As such, the chief prelates call on the President to provide a clear interpretation that these vices are prohibited and to take steps to amend the act so it provides a direct interpretation. Meanwhile, the Congress of Religions, which comprises of multi-faith leaders, says that neither casinos nor amendments are required. Issuing a communique, the Congress of Religions says that plans are afoot to establish at least 3 casinos in major buildings in the Colombo city. The organization points out that it is catastrophic to plan to establish these institutions in an unlicensed, unregulated and illegal fashion. The communique reads further that while it is up to the government to determine if casinos are to be legalized, the Congress of Religions believes that by now the government would have come to understand public opinion on this matter. The communique bears the signatures of Venerable Ittapane Dhamma Lankara Thera, Professor Venerable Bellamwila Vimalaratana Thera, His Eminence Cardinal Malcolm Ranjit, Retired Bishop Dulip de Chikera, Brahma Shri S. Kugananda Sharma Kurukkal and Pastor W.P. Ebenezer Joseph.
Speaking to reporters today, leader of the Democratic Party, Sarath Ponseca, said that the party is against the attempts made by the government to establish gambling in the country, inclusive of casinos.
Through the introduction of casinos and gambling, they are paving the way for vices such as prostitution, child molestation and many others to enter the country. At a time when the focus of the people of this country is on the new year, the leader of this country is secretly presenting this bill once again by deceiving the people. In Parliament, we will object to this attempt as a political party. This bill needs to be withdrawn.
An order under the Strategic Development Projects Act was adopted in Parliament today. 113 MPs voted in favour of the order, while 32 voted against. Notably, MP Venerable Atturali Ratanathera was among the members who voted against the adoption of the order. Let's take a look at some of the views expressed in Parliament today.
We wish to present an amendment to this Gazette notice. We have informed government members of this amendment. I believe that there will be no problem with this.
I
would like to respectfully remind Honourable John Amaratunga, who is a senior MP, that an amendment cannot be presented for a document that is not a bill. I also wish to inform you that if you are against it, you can speak against it now. We will find out later if you are for it.
The phrase gambling and betting has been removed from the Gazette notices presented in September last year, and a new Gazette notice with the phrase associated facilities has been presented. An amendment was presented to this Gazette notice. I too privately presented an amendment that the phrase associated facilities, not inclusive of casinos, betting and associated games, be included. That was presented in keeping with Section 37. As per Section 37 of the Standing Orders, there is no separation of a Gazette notice and a bill. Section 37 notes that an amendment can be presented to any question presented by the chair.
Since amendments cannot be presented to this order, the government has already accepted and included amendments that were presented here. In the previous order that was presented, a tax holiday had been granted for casinos. As per the decision of the cabinet, it was removed. So the amendment that has been presented by the opposition to not grant a tax holiday has already been accepted and included in the order by the government.
It clearly notes here that if the order presented on the 18th of February 2014 in an extraordinary Gazette notice should be adopted or not, that is what is to be decided. There is no question of amendments. In the case of a bill, it is different.
Now, President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that there are no preparations whatsoever to establish the casino enterprise in the country. The President made this statement during a meeting with heads of media institutions this morning.
The meeting between the President and the heads of media institutions was held at Temple Trees. The President pointed out at this meeting that while authorization had been granted for the construction of 2 hotels, permission had not been granted for the establishment of casinos. The President also mentioned that this project had been extended the same facilities as other hotel projects. President Mahinda Rajapaksa also said that a special police unit will be established to carry out investigations and resolve issues that arise among religious groups. The President noted that no one can be allowed to take the law into their own hands. The police officer that will be attached to this special police unit under the purview of the Ministry of Religious Affairs will undergo special training. The President also noted at this meeting that the police are conducting an investigation into the situation faced by a group of UNP MPs in Hambantota recently. Citing examples, the President noted that in the past, politicians have been made to face such situations on many an occasion. Pointing out that any individual has the right to protest, the President said that if there had been an attack, it would be investigated.
Now, speaking in Parliament today, Speaker Shamal Rajapaksa expressed his disappointment over the situation that was faced by a group of UNP parliamentarians in Hambantota recently.
If the Inspector General of Police presents a copy of the complete report to me, then I can present it to Parliament. I am the Sri Lanka Freedom Party organizer in the Tissa Maharama electorate. I am extremely disappointed about the incident that was faced by the MPs. At the same time, I too have functioned as an opposition MP, and when certain allegations were levelled at the government, as MPs we looked into these things. The MPs must have the right to make inquiries into projects that the government spends money on. If not, there will be no freedom. Therefore, the respective ministers and department heads should also hold themselves accountable when it comes to providing security and other matters.
Also in Parliament today, Chief Opposition Whip John Amartunga said the UMP is compelled to take the matter pertaining to the incident in Hambantota to the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association and the UN Human Rights Council.
The government proudly boasts that the people are now free to travel anywhere in this country. It appears that the people's representatives are not even free to visit publicly funded projects, sites, leave alone anywhere in the country. It is astonishing that the highest officials of the ruling regime have opted to justify this callous attack against democratically elected members of parliament rather than to take appropriate action to address the serious breach of law and order. We are reluctantly compelled to take this matter to the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association and the United Nations Human Rights Council. Will the government appoint a parliamentary select committee to inquire and report on this incident?
The guards are from a third party. The Inspector General of Police has reported to me that as per the results of the investigation, when evidence comes to light in a legitimate manner, the suspects will be arrested and produced in court.
Now on to one of our headline-making stories this evening. An oil spill has occurred at the Rakwana River following an accident involving a bowser transporting furnace oil in the Balawina area on the Ambilipitia-Ratnapura road. Our reporter says that a large number of families who rely on the waters of the river have been severely inconvenienced as a result.
The accident occurred at around 6 o'clock this morning. A nearby house was also damaged in the accident.
The bowser suddenly cut across the road. It then dragged on for about 10 or 15 feet. When I ran to the scene, the driver's assistant was stuck between the door of the bowser and an embankment.
While the injured person has been hospitalized, a water line in the area was also damaged in the incident. The furnace oil in the bowser then began seeping into the river. The public health inspector in Godakavila has issued instructions that the river's water not be used in drinking water schemes until further notice.
At about 7:45 in the morning, the municipal office of the Water Supply Board informed us that the oil was mixing with the waters of the river because a bowser had toppled into the river. We took immediate steps in this regard. We take water from the river and pump it to about 1,200 homes. We stopped this immediately, and at present the consumers at the 1,200 homes we supply are facing severe hardships.
Now, as politicians in the electoral fray cast their ballots on the second biggest polling day, in which a quarter of India's 815 million voters are set to vote, they appeal to all their countrymen to vote for the most eligible government. Our bureau correspondents in India said that voters came out in large numbers to cast their vote with hope for progress and development on the second biggest day of the mammoth elections that would decide the fate of over 1.2 billion people.
The country is now over halfway through its 9th-phase voting for a new parliament, with the ruling Congress party struggling to hold ground against the Hindu nationalist opposition. In the 6th phase of election, voters of 117 constituencies in the nation's 11 states and 1 union territory cast their ballots. India's financial capital Mumbai, which remains under constant militant threat, also went for polls. As the day progressed, the number of voters outside the polling stations began swelling in Chennai city. The Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Jayalalitha Jairam, said she is looking forward for peaceful, free and fair elections.
I request all political parties and the general public to cooperate with the Election Commission of India to ensure that there is a peaceful, free and fair election. I do not wish to make any other remarks now.
Indian Prime Minister Manmohan Singh cast his vote in the northeastern city of Guwahati and valiantly defended his beleaguered Congress party, saying the country should wait for the election results before writing it off. Singh, a Prime Minister for the past 10 years, has said that he will not seek the Prime Minister's office for a third term.
Well, I don't think the Congress is losing ground. I think we should wait for the outcome of the election process. That will be known on the 16th of next month.
There is a Modi wave all around. Do you think that will affect this election?
Well, Modi wave is the creation of the media. I think the country as a whole is swept by any Modi wave.
So what is it?
Bollywood stars and celebrities added a dash of glamour to the Indian elections as they came out in large numbers to cast their vote in the country's showbiz capital, Mumbai. Bollywood superstar Amir Khan was among the early voters as he came accompanied by his filmmaker wife Kiran Rao to vote. Khan, who is also the brand ambassador of India's Independent Election Commission, spreading awareness about the elections, urged his fans to exercise their voice in a democratic process.
I would like to tell every citizen of India that it is a very important process of our democracy. We should be connected with our democratic process every day, but this is a special day for all of us. Every Indian should be part of this process.
Voting in the world's most populous democracy, where about 815 million people are expected to cast their votes, is phased over several weeks and concludes on the 12th of May. Results are due to be announced on the 16th.
Well, we have been comprehensively covering the Indian general election since the day the polls were announced.
We have our correspondents based in Chennai, Delhi and Karnataka. Joining us now is Newsfirst Delhi correspondent A. Valarmati with the latest.
60.52% voter turnout was registered in Tamil Nadu as of 3 p.m. 845 candidates contested in 39 parliamentary seats. Over 60,000 polling stations were installed, of which 9,226 have been identified as sensitive. 150,000 security personnel were deployed for security. However, polling was overall peaceful with no untoward incidents being reported. Brisk polling was witnessed early in the morning in rural areas, especially in the southern district. However, Chennai constituencies witnessed less than 30% polling. The Election Commission, for the first time in the history of Tamil Nadu, clamped prohibitory orders to prevent money distribution to the voters. Valarmati from New Delhi, India.
A Bay-class patrol boat, one of two presented by the Australian government to the Sri Lankan Navy, arrived at the Colombo harbour this morning. The official ceremony to welcome the vessel took place under the auspices of the Sri Lankan Navy commander and the Australian High Commissioner in Sri Lanka.
The Bay-class patrol vessel was officially handed over to the Sri Lankan Navy on the 30th of March 2014 in the Australian regional city of Cairns. The presentation of the two Bay-class patrol boats was a gift to the Sri Lankan Navy, as promised by Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott during the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Colombo last year.
We know that the vessel will continue its exceptional performance here in Sri Lanka and that it will complement the current fleet of the Sri Lankan Navy and will also underline and add in a very practical way to the commitment of Sri Lanka to curb the people smuggling trade. It gives me enormous pleasure to be here today with the Commander of the Navy to welcome the vessel to Sri Lanka. The Australian Government is very pleased to be making this contribution. It further demonstrates the close and cooperative relationship we share in our efforts to counter people smuggling.
We have arrested more than 84 boats more than 4,400 personnel, and we have rescued at sea who were on the way to Australia on 3 occasions more than 250 Bangladeshis, Rohingyas and some Indian Sri Lankan nationals. Now that speaks volumes of our commitment, and this is a reward that we have received from the government of Australia for doing a job well done.
The Bay-class patrol boats are used by the Customs Marine Unit of the Australian Customs and Border Protection Services and used on border protection duties. The Bay-class vessel presented to Sri Lanka is 38.2 meters in length and 7.2 meters wide.
The Around the World team that is spreading the message of the World Conference on Youth 2014 is due to arrive in Geneva, Switzerland today. Yesterday, they met with youth representatives as well as government officials in Italy. Newsfirst Ramesh Irugal Bandara reports.
Around the world in 40 days.
Yesterday, the Around the World team visited the Prime Minister's Secretariat in Italy for a special discussion on the World Conference on Youth. The discussion was attended by Councillor Calgero Mausieri, the Chief of the Youth Department attached to the Prime Minister's office.
Young people participating in politics is the key to our future. So it's really important. We acknowledge the importance of the conference, and so we are sending 2 delegates by our National Youth Council to participate in your conference, of course. Cross-sectorial and cross-national collaboration is perhaps the key for a better management to problems that are global problems and no more national problems.
Thereafter, the team met with members of the Giovanni Nel Mundo Foundation, which is one of the leading youth groups in the country. The group expressed interest in sending over a delegation of their members to attend the conference as observers.
Today we are living in a globalized world, so most of the problem needs to be addressed globally. So none of the countries, even the biggest one, can address the problems alone. So it is absolutely necessary to foster cooperation, because only cooperation among countries can, make a world a better place to live in, and also to let young people have more opportunities for the future in order to build up a better world for the future.
Following several key discussions here in Rome, Italy, we bid farewell to this historic city. Our next destination is Geneva in Switzerland. From Switzerland, we will fly on to France and then conclude the European leg of Around the World in 40 days. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Ramesh Irugal Bandara with Yasrat Kamal Siri from Rome, Italy.
Deputy Minister Mohanlal Guerrero says that the President of the UN General Assembly, John Williams Ash, has confirmed his participation at the World Conference on Youth scheduled to be held in Sri Lanka this year. Convening a media briefing at the Government Information Department, the Deputy Minister added the Ministers of Youth Affairs of over 25 countries will also participate at the conference.
The inaugural session of the World Conference on Youth 2014 is scheduled to commence on the 6th of May at the Roonu Magampara International Conference Hall. The preliminary sessions of the conference are scheduled to take place at the BMICH from the 7th to the 10th of May.
එක්සත් ජාතීන්ගේ සම්මේලනයේ ගරු සභාපතිතුමා මේ සම්මුලට සහභාගී වීම
I believe the participation of the President of the United Nations General Assembly is an honor the country has attained. It's essential to mention that in a press release, Youth Envoy and Special Representative Ahmed Al-Handawi, appointed by General Secretary of the United Nations Ban Ki-moon, has confirmed that he will be in the country during the entire conference.
ලංකාවේ රැඳී සිටින බව විශේෂ නිවේදනයක් කරලා තියෙනවා. මේ සමුළුව
This conference is not yet another Scouts Jamboree.
No, this is not going to be another Scouting Jamboree or else a youth carnival or a youth festival. This is called as World Conference on Youth.
Through this conference, we can increase the benefits for the country and the world.
ලෝකයටත් ලබා ගැනීමට පුළුවන්කම තිබෙන්නේ.
The Colombo Declaration is the significant event of the World Conference on Youth this year. This is the declaration that will pave way for talks on many topics pertaining to youth and their part in the development of our country.
On business news tonight, Sri Lanka has become the first South Asian country to access disaster risk financing from the World Bank. The $102 million development policy loan was approved by the World Bank's Board of Executive Directors.
With a catastrophe deferred drawdown option, the development policy loan of $102 million is a line of credit that can be drawn partially or in full if Sri Lanka declares state of emergency after a natural disaster. The facility was approved by the board along with a $110 million climate resilience improvement project, which will finance both short and long-term interventions to reduce climate and disaster risk. The World Bank's country director in Sri Lanka, Francois Claude, says that the facility will greatly assist in rebuilding the lives of the poor who are greatly affected by natural disasters.
The final rites of the late Neil Shanmugam, a former group director of the Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited, were observed today at the Burella Public Cemetery.
The cottage of the late Neil Shanmugam lay at number 10 Greenlands Lane in Colombo yesterday and today for the public to pay their final respects. Following religious observances at the residence today, the cottage was brought in procession to the Burella Public Cemetery for the final rites. A proud product of St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia, Neil Shanmugam was a renowned senior cricketer. A talented right-arm bowler, he represented Sri Lanka in the 1960s and the 1970s. He also represented the Mercantile Cricket Club and the Sri Lanka Cricket Board Chairs 11. Neil Shanmugam passed away on Tuesday evening.
Let us pray.
In international news, South Korea has mobilized an advanced underwater drone, Crabster, in efforts to speed up its search operation for missing passengers of the sunken ferry while divers extend their search into the night. Other smaller remotely operated vehicles had been used for the search operation, but they were not functioning well due to strong tidal currents. The South Korean Coast Guard said it hasn't decided if it will use the crab-like robot for the search operation again as tidal currents are getting stronger. The Seoul sank on a routine trip from the port of Incheon near Seoul to the southern island of Jeju last Wednesday, April 16th. Of the 476 passengers and crew on board, 339 were children and teachers on a high school outing. Only 174 people have been rescued and the remainder are all presumed to have drowned. The confirmed death toll today was 159.
On to sports news, Chairman of Selectors at Sri Lanka Cricket, Sanat Jayasuriya, says that discussions are being held with Marwan Attapattu over the vacant position of head coach of the national team. Speaking further at a media briefing convened today at SLC on Sri Lanka's tour of England and Ireland, Jayasuriya expressed his disappointment at Paul Fabregas's resignation.
Marwan is our batting coach, and along with him there is also Ruwan Kalpage and Chaminda Vas. I felt that we must first discuss this position with Marwan. That is what we should do first. I tried to speak to Marwan today, but I could not as we were very busy. So I need to hold a small discussion with Marwan and explain to him what we are going to do and how we are going to do it. Especially now that we are going to England, we can look at what sort of program we will require.
එංගලන්තයට යනකොට අපි පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න ඕනේ මොන විදියේද වැඩ පිළිවෙලක්ද අපිට තියෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා.
The Badminton World Federation has informed the Sri Lanka Badminton Association that if government interference continues, the world body will have to consider suspending the SLBA until a proper governance structure is implemented. President of the Sri Lanka Badminton Association, Suraj Dandania, confirmed that a letter was received from the BWF in this regard.
This is a letter that was addressed to the President of the Sri Lanka Badminton Association, Suraj Dandenia, by the Secretary General of the Badminton World Federation, Thomas Luntz. According to the letter, the Badminton World Federation is concerned that the Sri Lanka Badminton Association acts in conflict with its own constitution by deciding to have the annual general meeting for 2014 without the election of office bearers in the extraordinary general meeting on the 10th of April 2014. The letter adds that the BWF understand the difficult position of the SLBA with the government imposing legislation that is unacceptable for the international sports movement and the Olympic Charter. Further, the Badminton World Federation has imposed a deadline of Friday the 20th of June for the Sri Lanka Badminton Association to hold fresh elections. The Badminton World Federation adds that if the above action is not completed, the BWF will have no other choice but to consider suspending the SLBA.
Sri Lanka will host a major international boxing meet, the Lions Cup, starting on the 28th of this month. Organized for the first time by the Sri Lanka Amateur Boxing Association, the Lions Cup is sponsored by Newsfirst and MTV MBC networks. A media briefing regarding the Lions Cup was held in Colombo today. The Lions Cup will commence on the 28th at the Sugatadasa Indoor Stadium and will conclude on the 2nd of May. Boxers from Australia, Belgium, Chinese Taipei, Indonesia, South Korea and several other countries will compete in this championship. Well, with that, we wrap up today's edition of Primetime News. As always, it is a pleasure having you with us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Shahim Jurangpati.
And I'm Mahina Bongzo. We leave you with a look at the weather forecast. Take care and good night.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.